have a story about Martin Luther King Jr. that I cannot verify. So I do have to start out that way by saying I've Googled it, I've tried to find it, I can't find it. And I think it's really poignant for where we are today. And I hope that for those of you who did watch Game On Girlfriend Live with us, that you take a minute to remember Power Day, because that's really, I think, what this story tells us. I think that's what this story is about, is where the power is and where we give it away. The story goes like this. Again, not verified. So I always have to say that, but the story's so good I'm saying it anyway. But I always like to be honest with you guys. Like, if this was made up, I'm going to tell you anyway because I think it's amazing. Martin Luther King Jr. was sitting in a theater and they were waiting for the show to start. And a man comes up to him. He was sitting in the aisle seat. And the man comes up to him and says, "Are you Martin Luther King Jr.?" And he says, "Yes, I am." And he stands up in anticipation to shake the man's hand. And the man spits in his face. Now, there's so many ways one could respond to this, right? I mean, so many. And what he does, according to the story, is he grabs his handkerchief out of his pocket. You know how they did that then. That was so classy. I wish we still did that, right? Or the guys still did that. We can do it too. Grabs the handkerchief, wipes the spit off of his face, and hands it to the man and says, "I think this belongs to you." That story is one of my absolute favorites. I'm trying not to cry right now because it's so important for us to recognize that even in a moment like that, in a moment when your basest instincts could take over, right? When you could just be like, "You son of a bitch," and you'd be totally right, totally justified in that response, right? Like, I'm gonna jump into fight. Right, that instinct to fight. And there are moments to fight. We've seen them, right? There are moments where it's like, nope, absolutely not. There are moments to actually call on somebody. And I don't mean call on them like, "Teacher." No, call on them. Pull out the best of the human being that's in there. Because we weren't born like that. We weren't born hating other people. We weren't born thinking we were better than other people or worse than other people, which usually elicits the really bad behavior. When we think someone else is genuinely better than us, we really start to act like idiots. She said elegantly, right? So as you go through this day, right? And here in the United States, this is a day that we've set aside. My whole family's home today. I'm so excited. We're going for a long walk together. But this day we have set aside to remember someone who left us examples like that. And I think part of what our shared experience has been over the last 10 months together is that the universe, God, our day-to-day experiences have constantly said to us, "This belongs to you." And it's like, duh, right? I don't want this one. I don't want this problem. I don't want this situation. I don't want this damn pandemic. I don't want to deal with this. This belongs to you. This social injustice belongs to you. The changes that need to be made, they belong to you. The strife you're having in your own family, it belongs to you. Right? Talk about power. Now, always in the moment, right? I said to you guys during Game On Girlfriend Live, I said, listen, being powerful is saying what you need to say. This belongs to you. And then taking what you get, because there's a lot of different ways people can respond to that. But there's another part of power, and I believe this comes from Deepak Chopra. If somebody else knows for sure, call me on it and tell me I got the quote wrong. The phrase is, in between the stimulus and the response, there's a space, and in that space lies your power. And like that can sound all woo-woo and nice, but you could see in the example of that story, there was a stimulus, right? There was a stimulus, like someone spitting in your face when you're expecting to be greeted. That's a stimulus, right? And it's a stimulus most of us won't experience, right? Especially those of us with the light eyes, as I like to say, right? Probably not going to experience that. But we can watch and empathize with what it would be like, and then check our own responses and understand what that took. The amount of power and the profound relationship to reality that actually takes, right? You've got to be profoundly related to what's actually happening, not your story about what's actually happening. And that's what makes that story so powerful, is he did not get caught up in the "you son of a bitch." He pulled it down to reality and said, I'm not taking this on. This is yours to deal with. You feel that? And some of you might have people in your own life where you have to call them today, maybe, perhaps, and say, this belongs to you and I'm not taking it on anymore. And places where you're the one who's spewing into conversations, into relationships, you've got to start to own that and say, I've done this. And my monthly students, my members, you guys know you have a formula for working out, cleaning up your messes, right? You guys know how to do that and how to have that conversation where you call them and say, I've been doing this, and you clean it up because it belongs to you. For those of you running businesses, especially those of you that are coaches or you're teaching somebody how to do something and they're like, it doesn't work for me or I can't do it. That belongs to you. Dear client, customer of mine, figure out why you are refusing to apply it or why you're refusing to try it and deal with that, because that's where the breakthrough is, right? And a lot of times for those of us who truly love our clients, the customers and students, right, it's really hard to be like, I'm not fixing this for you. This belongs to you. Work on it. That's what life is for anyway, right? And it's one of those things, kind of like, you guys know I'm a huge advocate of the book, The Gift of Failure, right? For those of you that have children, please read the book, The Gift of Failure. So good. But that's part of it, is you have no right to stop someone else from failing, because you're robbing them of the lessons they need to learn in order to live life the way they need to live their life, not the way you want them to live their life. Yeah? So to rob someone of their failure is to rob them of the lessons life is trying to teach them. And it makes us feel good, right? Because we feel super important and like, oh, look, they need me. That's all selfish. And then that belongs to you, right? Do you see how powerful this is? And you can use it over and over and over. And so on this day, while we celebrate this man's birthday and his beautiful example of what he left us, especially at a time that is so challenging for those of us in the United States, especially, let's take that lesson to heart. All week long, I want you to practice this over and over and over. You hear the noise, you hear the judgment, you hear yourself starting to whine, whoa, this belongs to me. Because I do believe those were the lessons that we've been given over the last 10 months. Where are you not taking responsibility for your life? Where are you shrugging off the protocols because they're freaking annoying, right? Where are you not doing what you know you need to do because you just don't feel like it right now? Where are you ignoring the nudges, which we talked about in Game On Girlfriend Live as well? That belongs to you. What are you going to do with that? I always say to people, this belongs to you, in a very loving way. And actually, when we do that, what we're doing is we're providing the opportunity for them to truly learn, right? That's what makes it so cool, is you're actually opening up the way to true growth, right? To true development, to true learning, because you're not interfering, assuming that you know better than the universe, which is what a lot of us do. I mean, I'm guilty of that too, right? Like, oh my gosh, I can totally see what you need to do to fix this. Like, we can always see for other people, right? It's like, oh my gosh, this is so clear. This is so clear, right? And you just want to fix it. It's like when your child is struggling to tie their shoes, you just do it for them because it's faster, but you rob them of the ability to learn how to do it. And I use children as an example because we can see that, right? You see that, or like I talked about a baby learning how to walk during the conference, right? If you interfere with that, if you try to make it better, they don't learn. And you rob them of the experience of trial and error and the experience of how strong they are and the experience of confidence, right? Because confidence is trusting yourself to figure stuff out. So if you rob anyone else of that, including yourself, right? You keep looking for the easy way out. You keep looking for the quick fix. You don't make the hard phone calls. You don't end the relationships that need to end, or you don't nourish the relationships that deserve your attention and time. You're doing the quick fix, right? You're doing the immediate gratification. You're doing the super fast. Does that make sense? So you're robbing yourself of that ability to grow too. When we react, it's never our best selves, ever, right? It's just not, as opposed to responding. It's really when you take the moment to go, what's actually happening here, right? And then you're the person in the room when you finally decide to respond. Everyone goes, oh my God, how did she know that? It's because you like, it's like if your ego was a hat, you like took it off for a second, set it down, and actually looked at what was happening, right? Because what do I teach you guys all the time? What this, I believe this belonged to you response does, what that does for you and for the other person, is it actually says, I see you. I hear you. And those are the questions everyone's always answering. Do you see me? Do you hear me? And so actually responding to what's so in the moment isn't only powerful for you, it's also telling the truth to the other person, which is, I see this behavior, right? So everyone who lately has been like, no peaceful response, this can't be peaceful. I totally get it. And there are moments, right, where we have to stand up and say, no. But what this response also provides in the moment, and this is why I say it doesn't matter if you have a like one of those megaphones, right? And you're like blasting out to thousands of people. If you have a huge following, whether Instagram, Facebook, or your newsletter, whatever, or you're having these conversations with your friends or at your kitchen table, it doesn't matter, because what you're doing is telling the truth, and you're starting to settle the emotion and the craziness out of it and getting down to, I see you. And sometimes that's enough to stop the bad behavior, right? Because one of the reasons, those of you who have teenagers know this, right? But one of the reasons people continue to behave badly is to get attention, is to be seen. Those of you, if you've watched videos of what happened on January 6th and seen interviews with some of the individuals, it was, you've always made fun of us. You never saw us. The only time you saw me was when. Got that? I'm not saying it's our fault, not at all. And like we all have to look at everybody all the time. No, but when you have the opportunity to see someone's behavior, acknowledge it, right? Without necessarily, this belongs to you, isn't necessarily making them wrong. What you're actually doing is offering them an opportunity to alter their course, and that's on them too, right? All you can do is open up the opportunity and walk away. Don't you hate shower moments? I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I did that. Oh my gosh, right? We all have them, don't worry, totally normal. And yes, it does help with that, like taking that pause to just go, what the hell's actually happening here? This is a massive cry for help. This is totally an appropriate cry for help. How can I combine this and actually respond in a way that might actually make a difference? There's so many people who are reactionary, right? I mean, look at the state of the world. These are not people who are thoughtfully responding to what's in front of them, right? This is a reactionary tribal fight as opposed to a, whoa, what is happening here, right? And how different the world would look if we all of us, right, including everybody who's hearing my voice right now and me, my fam, all of us, right, to take a second and go, what is mine here? What of this belongs to me? And how do I need to clean it up? And if none of it belongs to you, call that. And you can choose what you want to do with that, but actually meaning that, right? We don't express this amount of power in the moment to manipulate or to make a certain outcome happen, because that will never work, right? That is, I guess the best word I could come up with is manipulative, but it's even more sinister than that, right? It's trying to pull the strings on somebody else. And that's actually not giving them the power to make the decision, right? That's you trying to control the situation. And me too, right? Any one of us trying to do this to like cause the result. It's not going to cause the result you want. It's going to cause the best result possible. And if you can trust in that and understand that you may not know better than the universe, you may not know better than God or whatever your belief system is, you may not know better. Like we need a little bit of humility there. We can be grounded and we can call things what they are. But then we also have to release control to let the best possible outcome come out, right? And those of you who've worked with me for a while, or you've heard me speak for a while, you've heard me say things like that before, right? Like you can't manipulate a marketing campaign. You have to sit down and ask yourself, what do people need from me? Where are they right now? How are they hurting? And how can I help them? You work in that because that's where things belong to you, right? This belongs to me. I've been given these gifts, talents, and expertise to help people. That belongs to me. Nurture that. The results will take care of themselves. And they may not do it immediately, right? Like you might be in a conversation with somebody who clearly has stuff to look at, right? It might take them a while. That's not on your watch. That is not on your clock either. That's on their life's development. You help by creating the opportunity, but after that, you have to release the control. And I think that is part of the example that we got from Martin Luther King Jr. that I really hope we embrace and take into this week, this entire week, not just today, but this whole week, because we know it's going to be a tough week in the States, right? So we want to take that lesson, and I want you to watch, as I've been talking about all year. I want you to watch, I mean, this year, January, so whatever so 18 days. I don't mean like the last 12 months. I want to be clear, right? But so far in 2021, the theme has really been no gossip, right? No tribalism on your part. When you feel that start to come up, the question is, what am I scared of? You can deal with that, okay? And then you got to speak the truth to that, both to yourself and to anyone else who needs to hear it. And that's where cleaning up your messes comes in, right? If you haven't been kind and considerate to somebody, you got to go clean that up. If you haven't dealt with how you're really feeling inside of a relationship, go clean that up, right? And that can be, you guys always take care of yourselves, right? Sometimes people hear that and they go and have a conversation with someone who's dangerous, and that's not what I'm talking about, right? Like you might need to write a letter, you might need to for yourself block people or take care of yourself to nurture. But again, it's never in a, those bastards, they're so wrong, It's like, no, I honor me and I honor my experience of being alive, and that doesn't fit right now. Do you feel the difference in that? Because if you go around judging people and making them wrong, you're going to make yourself really, really unhappy. It's like the number one, like if someone came to me and said, Sarah, what's a formula for being unhappy? I'd be like, oh, judge other people. Have fun. Like it's like the number one way to make yourself miserable. So as you start to clean up messes or you go to incorporate things, one, don't expect to be able to manipulate the exact response you want. That's not going to happen. You do it for the sake of doing what's yours to clean up. And for the bad behavior of others, you do what you need to do to help them clean it up, to give them the opportunity to clean it up, and then you got to let it go because you probably don't know the very, very best in the whole wide world. I know. Humble pie, right? I know. Oh, and I promise you guys, I will tell you, we have put the conference up for sale. If you were not able to watch all the videos, we have a link for you. I will put that in here so you can go snag it. It's only $37 for all 3 days. Plus we've also made the audio files for you as well. So you can just pop in your earphones and listen from anywhere. And those are downloadable for you once you purchase it. All right. So we try to make it super affordable because we know not everybody had time, but we also can't just leave that up forever. So we do want to give you the opportunity to do that. We had so many people ask, so it is available to you.